Hey everybody, welcome back to Prince's Friend, exploring music through Prince. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, so you always know when Prince's Friend puts out a new video. And today we have quite the doozy of a video. This is the part one of two-parter review for Welcome to America. So yes, we have had some deluxes, we've had some super deluxes, we've had reissues of lesser known albums. We all knew them, but other people didn't. We've even had some vault releases like the originals or Piano and a Microphone 1983. But Welcome to America is the first full posthumous release from the Prince estate. And if you watched my unboxing, you know, the big set that you would buy comes with an album, plus the LPs, plus a DVD, plus the booklet, plus the blah, 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 all the stuff. But what we're talking about here today is the music. Now, this album, Welcome to America, was slated for release in 2011. It was supposed to come as kind of a follow-up to 2010. Funny enough, released in 2010. But Prince, for one reason or another, decided not to release this album. If we do look at what was released after 2010, then you can kind of guess that he was stepping away from full releases for a while. He was playing around in a singles market. Since we didn't see another full album until the double release of Artificial Age and Plectrum Electrum in 2014. But before we got those, we got singles for Extra Lovable, Screwdriver, Rock and Roll Love Affair, Fix Your Life Up, and Breakfast Can Wait. Now, I feel like Prince maybe was over the whole independent distribution angle. He had already kind of said right before that the internet was dead, it was played out. So, you know, to me, it seems like he was probably working on the deal with Warner Brothers to get his masters back, and he was planning on making a big splash in 2014 when he came back. So I wasn't there, but from the outside observer, that kind of makes sense as to why maybe this album was shelved. He wants to make sure that if he releases it, people will see it. So the bulk of this album was recorded by Prince with Chris Coleman and Tal Wilkenfeld. It was recorded in a very short amount of time. Prince Vault says about a week and a half at Paisley Park, obviously. You know, I'm going to point you guys to the Story of Welcome to America podcast that was done in conjunction with the estate and The Current, the radio station, because they really tell, they actually get both Chris Coleman and Tal Wilkenfeld and Shelby and everybody, and they really tell some fun stories about how they were recruited and what kind of happened behind the scenes in the making of this album. In particular with Chris and Tal, how they were kind of brought in and thanked for their time and then like never talked to again. So it's just funny the way that everything kind of worked out. The one exception to the instrumentalists on this, the performers, is that John Blackwell did play drums on 1,000 Light Years from Here, according to Prince Vault. So that would be the only one where somebody else was playing drums. So with that in mind, this album also features the amazing trio of Shelby J. Liv Warfield and Alyssa Fiorello, or Elisa Dean. You know, she's married now. You know, I don't want to take anything away from her married name. And Morris Hayes, who at one of the stories that was told on the podcast is that after Prince was done with it, he gave it to Morris and said, do whatever you want to it. Just do whatever you want. And so Morris added stuff. So he's on there too, obviously. But I've always loved the blend of Shelby, Liv, and Alyssa's voices. During all of the touring that he did during that time, they were all over the place. And he uses them really expertly on this album. Like they are pretty much on all the songs here on Welcome to America, except one, and we'll talk about that. So we now have kind of gone through all of the general information for the album, but before we jump into the album itself and we start diving into the tracks, I just want to say that I'm going to be doing something a little bit different here with this review. I'm breaking this review into two parts, as I mentioned kind of earlier. This video is going to cover the songs of the album, kind of like my traditional Prince reviews, but part two is where I'm going to really dive into the story and the messaging that is on this album. I feel it's important to appreciate this album both from a musical angle and also from the messaging angle, because I don't want you to lose one in the other. We have a tendency to be like, wow, that's really funky, and I didn't even realize he was singing about the apocalypse, so so I really want to dive into both of those very separately and give them both the attention that they deserve. And with that in mind, sit back, relax, let's dive into Welcome to America.
Welcome to America. Welcome to the big show. To America. Everybody's looking for something when there ain't no place to go.
So one thing in the Story of Welcome to America podcast is that it was really fun to hear the audio tech that got Prince all set up. I was expecting him to go into the studio and deliver this huge, Prince performance, only to have him basically recite spoken word for the song instead. And it was interesting that, he was like, oh, I was really taken aback because I was expecting something different. And what does Prince tell us in this song? Prince wanted you to hear what he was saying. If he sings it, it's kind of like what I was just talking about, where you might get lost in the melody. He's like, no, too cool for that. But by speaking plainly, the listener can truly absorb what he's saying. It's a song breaking down how Prince sees America, and sadly, a lot of it still stands today. It's still true. There are many references in this one song that I may have to do a whole wordplay on it, but there is a ton to break down in this song. Prince, Liv, Shelby, and Alyssa, they bring the house down on this song, though. Really, it kind of reminds me a lot of Crystal Ball, because there's this song, and it's in there, but you don't hear the song the whole time. A lot of it is theatrics. You're playing with themes, and it's almost like it's a movie. You only really get that little bit of funkiness, like right in the middle, before it returns back to the spoken word and the theme and whatnot. So I always found that really, really interesting, and, Prince always keeps us on our toes.
Son of a slave master, meet and greet. There goes the blood rushing in your back.
Track 2 is Running Game, Son of a Slave Master. This is one where it was really interesting to hear how kind of hands-off Prince was when he was really kind of handing the reins to his singers. He comes in on the choruses, allowing Shelby, Liv, and Alyssa to kind of take over the verses. The groove is low and slow, really hearkening back to the old days, which I believe is purposeful. It's supposed to remind you how things used to be and how they're still the same. And the lyrics are awesome too, like super deep, even if they don't really feel like it. I like the line, all the gates of Henry, which is obviously referring to Henry Louis Gates Jr. I thought that was a great line in this song, but on its face, it's another song with Prince kind of poking at the bear of the record industry, but it is part of a larger contextual statement that he is making. We'll talk about that in the next video. I'm going to stop trying to say that here for a little bit. But you know what? It's already super strong even just after 2 songs, this album. It's really good.
Born to die, born to die. If you ain't living right, no, you're born to die.
So Born to Die. When I first heard Born to Die, because it was like the first song that they released as like the lead single, I didn't necessarily get it. It sounded great, and it felt like Prince was maybe veering into different styles that was a little bit far out for my taste. The story is of a woman who's running the streets. It's great. It was a little bit different musically, more is what I'm talking about. I mean, the story and the lyrics and stuff were really, really good. But then I heard the story about Dr. Cornel West and his comment that he made during an interview that he did on YouTube that Prince saw, where somebody asked him, tell us about Prince. Isn't he amazing? And he said something to the effect of, well, my brother Prince is so amazing, but he ain't no Curtis Mayfield. And then Prince took that personally and said, well, I'm going to do a Curtis Mayfield type song. And he kind of made this song to feel very Curtis Mayfield, which it does. So, I mean, there's that as well. But also, it sounds very Princey. It sounds like Princey Curtis Mayfield. And I believe that that is the goal. And why Prince would do other artists' songs. It was because he knew that he could do them, but they couldn't do him. And I think that that is an amazing idea, because Prince was just that amazing. And today, I really freaking love this song. It's become required listening by all accounts, as far as I'm concerned. Regardless of whatever point he was trying to make, this song is Prince through and through. It has all his vibes. It just took me a moment to catch up.
1,000 light years away from me. 1,000 light years from here. 1,000 light years from here. About a peaceful revolution.
Now we get 1,000 light years from here, and those of us who loved Hit and Run Phase 2, we've kinda already heard a version of this song, which was at the tail end of Black Muse, which I loved that departure from the core song. I thought that 1,000 light years from here really complemented Black Muse. But come to find out, it is actually its own damn song, so hey, you got me, Prince. Though, this version of 1,000 Light Years From Here is a bit slower and has vastly different lyrics from the one in 2016. The first line of the song for me, I believe, is like the best line of the whole song. We could live underwater. It ain't hard when you never been a part of the country on dry land. Like, go on, Prince. If anybody ever asks why we gush about Prince's songwriting ability, point them right here to this song. I feel like the overall amazingness of the jazzy, spiritual song about feeling out of place, hoping for a better future, that's what this man was all about. And I love hearing this song as originally intended.
I think it's gonna be hot summer. Just wait and see. Hot summer. Shoo-wee-doo-wee. Hot summer.
So this is one of those Prince songs that did end up getting released to the MPG Music Club in 2010, as well as it was part of the extended 2010 album, and it got played on The Current, the radio station. So even though the rest of this album was up on a shelf, this one was having its rounds. And Hot Summer, it was kind of one of those songs that had to grow on me. It's, you know, bouncy, it's happy, it's about partying together despite the troubles happening. Once I realized why it was on here and its importance to the album, I can't live without it now. It's, you know, it's that fun party beach feel, but without it feeling dated. And honestly, Liv's "Oh, Hot Summer," like, I could listen to that just all day. She's freaking amazing for that. And I know, first off, that I talk a lot about Shelby J on this channel because I really love her voice, and her solo stuff is amazing. But Liv and Alyssa, they are also amazing singers, so don't get it twisted. They bad. Hot Summer, it's a divisive track that I love, but I also understand others who it might not be their cup of tea.
Stand up and be strong. Stand up and be strong. It won't take long. You can't go.
So Stand Up and Be Strong, it starts off as almost a duet with Prince and Alyssa, which sounds really beautiful. Then Liv and Shelby come in. The melodies are gorgeous. The piano is expertly executed. Everyone's harmonizing so well. I just wish that the lyrics were a little less basic. You know, it won't take long before they're gone, stand up and be strong. For me, it just doesn't really work. It feels like almost like it's somebody's first song and they're just trying to find words that rhyme. You know, everybody's got those songs, but the delivery of said words is just crazy good. One of my favorites is when they lie to your face, put them in their place, because when he says that, when they lie to your face, it's all in auto-tune, because you know what? Auto-tune is a lie. The finale of the song also feels like it's like church Sunday, the people jamming out in all the aisles. And also, apparently, this church has an amazing electric guitar player in the choir. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on here musically. For me, I just wish the lyrics were a little bit better.
The record.
So upon first listen, Check the Record quickly became one of my faves on Welcome to America. It's got that classic Prince funk to it. It's kind of sexy, even though it's actually a song saying, hey, we didn't have any sex. And that's something really cool about this song. So Check the Record is saying, yeah, I was talking to your girl, but no, we didn't hook up no matter what people are saying. You know, by the way, she was telling me how unhappy she is with you, so maybe you need to let her go. You know, it's kind of the opposite of like She Loves You by the Beatles, and definitely not the same as the marrying kind from Musicology. He was kind of in the same position where he's talking to this other man's girl, but in that song, he is actively trying to steal this woman away from that guy. So in this case, like seriously, check the record. Nothing happened. You're the one in the wrong. Freaking love this song though.
Same page, but different. So much more in common if you only look.
So Same Page, Different Book is the song that in the Story of Welcome to America podcast, Alyssa Fiorello said that she thought that this one's going to be the breakthrough hit off of the album if it was released, which is interesting since it wasn't one of the singles as far as I knew. Definitely not chosen by the estate. That aside, this song is very cool. It's got that scratch guitar that I love so much. You guys know I love that. I also think that the horn blows at the end of each measure, like those are dope. Like, I thought that was really cool. And he ends the song on that, too, which is really fun. The lyrics speak to address community infighting. We all have to come together regardless of what we believe. I love the second verse, too, because it speaks directly to the idea of xenophobia, where he sings, the new kids on the block trying to make their bed, like they're just trying to live. They're just here. Here come another rock upside their head, you know, and then of course later on, Prince speaks about if we're all throwing stones, who was going to win? You know, another win in the songwriting department as far as I'm concerned with Same Page, Different Book. A note on Shelby J's rap on this song as well.
Faith, law, good deeds, practicing what you preach. Between you and me, TV ain't reality. That's right, I said it, it's said.
First off, I think that she killed the rap, like it's dead. First off, she killed it, it's dead. I'll say that. Then, listening to the Story of Welcome to America podcast, she did share that literally Prince was like, hey Shelby, go write a rap for this part. And then she had like an hour to like write this and like figure out how to like lay it down. And you know, Shelby's a freaking pro because that's not easy to do if you're not a rapper. It's even hard to do even if you are a rapper. Not everybody is good at being able to like come up with something really, really fast and deliver it as well as she did. I mean, but we already knew she was a pro because if you listen to her album 10, I'll pin it as the pinned comment here on this review, then you already know that she is just sheer talent. It's oozing from her. Anyway, great song.
When she comes, she walks around like she's...
Now we are to When She Comes, and quite infamously, When She Comes is the only song on this album where Prince did it all by himself. He told Shelby, Alyssa, and Liv that he didn't need them to come and help with this one, and he insisted that he record it alone and sent them away. I doubt it was because he was embarrassed to be singing a sexy song in front of them. I mean, he sings sexy songs in front of crowds. It is a deeply intimate song, and maybe it was just better alone. Or maybe he had a different special guest in there with him. Who even knows? I'm just saying. Complete speculation. I'm just saying maybe there was another reason why he's like, no, y'all can take the afternoon off. It's all good. It is a different version of the song from the one we got on Hit and Run Phase 2 as well. This version of the song is maybe a bit more soulful, a little bit more R&B, as opposed to a little bit jazzier on the other, and about the act of sex itself, while the later version is kind of about the entire experience of having this woman come by and be near him, more about the closeness than the need for actual sex. But this one, yeah, it's all about sex, so it's pretty magnificent. I'll move on. All right, here we go. 1010 Rin Tin Tin. Easily my second favorite on the album. Again, because it's just so funky. It's just so funky. So 1010 is kind of the reference of the show Rin Tin Tin. He also sings about the Lone Ranger. Shows that he must have watched when he was a kid. The drums are great. The bass slaps. The guitar's in there just enough. But a lot of the song is just Prince over the beat and the bass and his backing singers, of course. He sings about time and disasters, which are well-tread territory for Prince, but when you package it in this funky of a tune, it's hard not to listen to it. There's lots of overlapping vocals and amazing deliveries in this song. In particular, he says like, "We got to let the funk unwind," like 12 different ways. And every one of them is a masterpiece. Friggin' love this song.
If you're ready for a brand new nation, if you're ready for a new situation.
So now we are to the penultimate song of Welcome to America, and in this song we're spelling the word yes and shouting it for very long periods. It's an awesome, joyous song saying yes to making a change in yourself and to hopefully change the world. One story about this song is that super long at the end, sung by Shelby, Liv, and Alyssa, all in tune, working together. It's held for a stupid long time. From the podcast again, they tell the story of how they went to Prince and they're like, "This is super hard. Like, how are we even going to do this?" And he was just like, he apparently just did it right there. Like without any practice or anything, he just did it. And then he said, "Yeah, if I can do it, you can do it." And they were just like, "Well." And then they apparently worked for hours into the night to get it right. Because, and a little bit in their defense, not only did they need to hold it, but they needed to hold it, all three of them together, all in key, all with the same breath control. And like, it's a little bit harder for them to harmonize it than for him to do it alone. But still. The song itself, though, is pretty straightforward rock and roll, which I like.
One day, we'll all be free.
And here we are to the conclusion of the album. One day we will all be free. This song is kind of a cool bluesy tune. It's talking about freedom, expectations, striving for more. It's an unassuming kind of song that you won't think about much while it's playing, and then you like can't get it out of your ear for hours afterwards. It's definitely an earworm like that. I like Prince's delivery on this as well. He gives us some falsetto, gives us some low growls, some funky licks. Pretty much all of it comes together into a really, really great song. Now, what I will say is, as much as I like the song, I do have two gripes with it. One, the title is "One Day We Will All Be Free," but they sing "One day we'll all be free" every time. So come on, Prince, just use a contraction. Of course, it's likely that he worded it this way so that he would draw comparison to Donny Hathaway's song "Someday We Will All Be Free," because Prince was like that. My second complaint is I didn't feel like this was the over-the-top epic album ender that I'm used to and that I like to have. It hits more like Resolution on Planet Earth, where the message of the freedom and hope, that is more important than having this huge musical climax. That I can dig. But since we're talking about the music here in this part of the review, I would say that I would probably have switched Yes and One Day We Will All Be Free on the final sequencing. That's just me, though. So in conclusion, Welcome to America has been on repeat in my house for months and has skyrocketed to become one of my all-time favorite Prince albums. I would say easily top 10, maybe top 5? I'd have to think about that one. Definitely top 10, though. It's got the funk, it's got the messaging, it's got the amazing performances, it's got a great story. Again, that's what part 2 is all about. I kind of wish that Prince was alive to see this album really get its release. Music can change hearts and minds. I wonder what the world would look like if the people had heard this music in 2011. There is not a boring spot on this album. There are no skippable tracks when I listen to this album. Welcome to America is as close to perfect of a record as I think anyone can kind of get. So 5 out of 5. I freaking love this album. But what did you think of Welcome to America, Prince's album? Let me know about that down in the comments, and we can further discuss the music on this album. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you'll be alerted when part 2 of this review goes up, where I outline why the sequencing of this album is the way it is, and what is the overall story and messaging that Prince is trying to give us on this album. Because this album, it says a whole lot. But also hit like and consider becoming a member here on YouTube or going to patreon.com/princessfriend to check out the Patreon. Either will support the channel a whole lot, as will just watching this video. So I appreciate you being here anyway. So until next time, may you live to see the dawn. I love you all. I'll see you in part 2.